Welcome to another episode of Out of Spec Dave, where here we are today at a bottling plant. Actually, it is an old bottling plant for, I would imagine, mineral water. We got to figure that out. But it is now the Saratoga Auto Museum. And what's really cool about this is that they have the 007 Bond collection of cars, including the Lotus, the Submarine. Remember that thing that actually went underwater? Very cool project. It's actually an EV. It's got 4 motors, and I want to check it out. I haven't seen that. So when you pull up here, you'll see we've got the Livingston level 2s over here. And please don't film my parking spot here. I'm way out of kilter. In the meantime, these young guys here from Albany rented a CDTA Bolt and are navigating the world of EVs and trying to figure it out because they picked it up down in Albany with a super low state of charge. So they're braving the new world, folks. This is what it is. So again, let's get into this video today and check it out. All right, so here we are in Saratoga. This is one of the main attractions for me, at least, is the Saratoga Auto Museum. They've got all the Bond cars in motion, 007. And this is going to be super interesting. Looks like an old bottling plant from maybe some of the Saratoga mineral water years ago. What a great reuse of this station. We've got a Can-Am Spyder, a couple of bikes over there, a cool GT4, and the entrance looks like they're doing a little bit of maintenance on the building, which is always good to see. And welcome. Let's go in. Okay, welcome to the inside of the Automobile Museum here in Saratoga, where the James Bond exhibit, or James Bond movies are celebrating 60 years, and this museum is celebrating 20 years. So we're going to go through here in a minute. I'm going to introduce you to Douglas, one of the volunteers here at the museum, who seems to know a little bit about these cars, which I'm glad about. So we'll start off not with a car, but with a sled, an MXZ 600. This is actually a sled that Kyle had. And while you're not allowed to get on any of the cars or get in any of the cars, I was told you can get on this machine. Is that right?
You said right.
So this is bringing back some memories here. This was an amazing rider that we had up in Vermont years ago, riding single track. And this was Kyle's sled. I, of course, had the 800. Kyle only needed the 600. The benefit of the 600, lighter weight, just as quick on the single track, a little bit less on the top end. But let me introduce you to Douglas over here. Douglas, thank you for taking us around today in this exhibit.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so why don't you, first of all, can you tell me just a little bit about this building and what is over here with the bottling plant, the history of this building?
Well, the building was built in 1933, opened in 1935 as a spring water bottling plant.
And they bottled, is this the example of what they bottled here?
We have mineral water which tastes a little bit acquired taste, or most of the people are for the clean water, the clear jar, and that's nice spring water. Okay. Which a lot of people will come here with jugs and fill up their jugs in the building. Yeah,
that's great. Well, enough about that. Let's get into the cars. Well, so what is this over here? This vehicle here? This
is a Submarine from about 1971. Diamonds Are Forever. They made 2 of these by legendary car customizer George Billis. One of them was filled full of concrete, so it would sink like a rock, which it did. Another one was used at a sound stage. It doesn't look particularly believable when you look inside. It has some controls and knobs. None of them are marked as to what they do, but I think it was more as a movie prop as versus a working sub.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool. All right, and then what is this here?
That's a '69 Mercury Cougar. That particular year, they made the wheelbase longer and the wheel track wider to accommodate a big 428 cubic inch Ford engine out of a Ford Thunderbird. Normally, these have a much smaller engine, but this 428 gave it lots of power, muscle car era, but it's a very heavy, bulky car. And the video we are looking at.
Was this Moonraker?
This is Moonraker, thank you. And that was a moon buggy there. At one point, during its careening over the desert, it loses a rear wheel. but somehow it keeps on going. I don't know how.
That's something else.
Yeah. But they have a separate chase scene that goes on for a fair amount of time.
So this was the counterpart to the Ford Mustang from Mercury,
Yes.
which was the Cougar. Interesting that the Bond movie selected a Mercury Cougar as opposed to a Ford Mustang, which I would imagine helped the brand. This one's a convertible with skis on the back. You gotta love that.
Yes, right.
So, and this, look at this, an AMC Hornet over here. And first of all, Kathy, thank you for filming today. I really appreciate that. And yeah, this is American Motors Corporation, AMC Hornet.
Used to make this jump scene with this
Oh yeah,
Hornet.
look at this, Kathy, come check this out. There's
It's a 74 Hornet, and they had defense contractor Martin Marietta.
they've got to go across the river here.
Yeah. The river is supposed to be in Thailand, but it's actually in Alabama. They had defense contractors designed the takeoff ramp and the landing ramp, but it was a leap of faith, no pun intended, that it was going to work, and it did. They did it with one shot, and I'm sure the stunt driver was overwhelmed.
Oh yeah.
That's amazing.
That is
Yeah,
awesome.
It's a neat scene.
Yeah, now I know one of the things we're going to see a lot of today are Aston Martins, which you gotta love.
Who doesn't love
I mean, James Bond being from England, right?
Yeah.
And look at this beautiful car. Now, is this a car that was actually used in the movies? All of these cars, or
Yeah, they all were used in movies. This one was used in the latest movie, Time to Die. They used Aston Martin DB5s of this vintage, 64, in about 5 different Bond films. And this one was used extensively. It has a few issues. The chrome's not very good and has a few dents in it and a few problems, but it photographs well.
wow?
And of course, it has the correct James Bond license plate.
Yes, it does. I see that.
216A.
Yeah.
The car was, of course, it's a British-built car, but it was the body was designed and built in Italy by a Carrozzeria. Touring makes the bodies for Ferrari and Maserati and
Right.
others.
Right.
So it has an aluminum body that is draped over a steel tubing frame.
Amazing.
And they were about $12,600 back in that era, 64, which was a lot of money.
I wonder what this thing's worth now.
Well, they say it's worth about $20 million, but it's
20
owned by Eon Productions, the production company, and they have no intention of
No,
ever
yeah,
selling
it was something as priceless like that.
Right.
Look at this. Is this a DB7? Is this?
This is a
or-
DB7 Vanquish, and with all kinds of machine guns and rockets and missiles. James Bond spends a lot of his day being pursued by people
Yes.
who want to do him harm, and this is one of them.
Yeah. Well, that's rigged out pretty well, I would
Yes,
say.
it is.
That is just beautiful. So this car, V12, 190 miles an hour, top speed, horsepower 460, plus machine guns. So,
Yep.
you know, you gotta. Now, this over here
Yeah.
has my very strong attention because this is a Lotus Esprit Turbo. Actually, one of the reasons why I was very interested, because we focus a lot on electric vehicles on Out of Spec Dave channel, but this vehicle, from what I understand, actually has 4 motors in it. This is an electric car.
I did not know
Yeah,
that.
and it has the wings in place of where the wheels were. And this particular car was manufactured down in Riviera Beach, Florida. What they did was they bought the shell of the car and they delivered that down to Riviera Beach, where there was a company that makes submarines, and they converted this car. There were about 8 or 9 different Lotuses built for the movie, which was, this is a 77, yeah, it's called the Wet Nilly, and it's from The Spy Who Loved Me in 1977. But you'll see in a couple of scenes where the car is driving into the water, they used an air cannon to shoot it into the water, and then to pull it out of the water, I believe they used some sort of a rope contraption to pull it out. And both of those prototypes, or both of those models, were were custom made specifically for certain scenes. And then of course they had a regular Lotus
Yeah.
Esprit Turbo on the road, which you can see in some of the film clips here. But look at how they retrofitted this thing, and it actually worked as a submarine.
Yeah.
Very cool, electric, one of the electric vehicles. Now, what's super interesting about this car, from what I read, is that the production company shipped this car when they were done with it off to Long Island, and someone put it into a storage compartment.
Mm-hmm.
One of those places where you can actually, and they
Self-storage.
paid 10 years worth of self-storage. But when the 10 years was up, no one paid the bill, so they auctioned off the unit, and someone got this car. And so Kathy, I think whoever bought, you can buy the contents,
Mm-hmm.
and you saw this inside of it, all basically rusted up and all that.
Yeah.
Rumor has it, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Elon Musk bought this car, and he may still own, maybe not this exact one, because there were a number in the movie.
There were a number of them.
But it's pretty wild, and there's 4 electric motors in this thing. I'm fascinated with this car, with this car submarine or what have you. But wow, is that exciting to see that right there? And then look at this old classic bike here, wet bike prototype. It's a motorcycle meant to go on water from The Spy Who Loved Me as well. So, it's interesting how Bond movies push the envelope.
Yes.
With technology, which is pretty amazing. So here's another Aston. This is making me want to get an Aston Martin, Kathy. This is dangerous, Douglas.
Kid in the candy store.
This is an '85 Aston Martin, the year I graduated college, used in The Living Daylights in the movie in 1987. Timothy Dalton at the time was the, boy, there's really not much in there.
No, there's really not much of anything. It's really just a fiberglass shell with a little bit of steel to hold it together. And these doors don't open, nor does the hood, nor does the roof. So there's no way in it. So I suspect they put a mannequin in it, and that was how it was filmed. But the chrome is really not chrome. It's just sort of silver tape, and the doors don't open. And so it doesn't weigh much, and that was part of its goal. It had to be very light to go off a ramp.
And you look at the tires, it had ice spikes in them. I don't know if you can see this, Kathy, come back here, but you can see the spikes in the tires when it was driving in the snow in one of the scenes. Pretty wild. You see them right out here.
Yeah.
Incredible. Now, Douglas, what is this here for? This Neptune?
Neptune submarine, they made 2 of these, one of which was used on the soundstage, and it never got a drop of water on it. But this one, they actually did roll it down into the water, but it was always connected to a very robust cable.
Oh, I
Because
see.
it's really not watertight, and when the actors were inside of it was actually stunt doublers with scuba gear.
With scuba
because
gear.
It's not really watertight.
Right. So this
boat.
is meant to have water inside of it, or
Well, it did leak water inside.
It leaked water. Didn't-
But it was
okay.
underneath the water, but only for enough time to get their shots.
Yeah. I remember seeing this in a film, The Rickshaw.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly. I'm not a huge Bond buff, but pretty wild.
Yeah, we had a couple here yesterday, a mother and his daughter, and they were from India.
Oh,
And
right.
Of course, they said, "Oh, we see this all the time."
Yeah, it's a taxi. I mean, that's basically what it is. So, and look at this. We're going off brand over here, Kathy. A Jaguar, with a simple.
You just, instead of a tow hitch, you get a machine gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. No, it's what does Tesla get? $1,000 for the tow hitch? How much do you think the option
my
for the
gosh.
machine gun option?
That machine gun doesn't look particularly workable, but once they do the post-production, they have the flame and a little bit of recoil and the smoke, and it's very believable.
Yeah. This was used in Die Another Day in 2002. I'd love to drive down the streets of Saratoga Springs in that thing. That'd be.
Yeah, that's been
Pretty fancy.
modified with a front-wheel drive system from a Ford Explorer, so it has four-wheel drive.
Oh, really? Interesting. Look at the rockets.
Gotta have those.
Now, what is this, Douglas, here?
That's called Switchblade, and it was a one-person rotor jet plane, and the concept was that Holly Berry flew it from South Korea to North Korea, which I don't think would be a great idea.
Yeah. No, that's probably not
Yeah.
recommended. Yeah. Interesting. Well, we got a whole nother room. Come on over here, Kath. Look at this. There you can see Pierce riding the MXZ.
And he's not wearing a hat.
He's not wearing a hat or a helmet, of course.
Frozen to death.
He doesn't even have gloves on.
Oh, he's cool. It's like Dumb and Dumber.
Oh boy, should we start? All right, now we're getting into some BMWs. Look at the 7 Series here.
Yeah,
Just with your standard sunroof retro rockets on top.
that's a
Yeah, I bet that cost a few extra dollars.
750 Li.
Oh, this is the long wheelbase.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, yeah. Very cool. Look at this old BMW R1200.
That's so pretty.
That is a beautiful bike. I would ride that without a doubt. Check out the shock absorber on this motorcycle, Kathy. It's instead of having the shock, there it looks like there's struts here, but there's also a coil shock there going down to the front, which is interesting. Before we jump over to that Aston, I just want to show you this Z8 over here. This is I remember when this car came out, I think they debuted the car in the movie before they started selling them. And this is such a timeless design. Beautiful, beautiful car. What can you tell me about this car?
Well, it's a V8 engine, and it's more powerful than the Z4. These cars didn't sell particularly well, about $120,000
Yeah.
or so, which was a little bit high.
Yeah.
And but it's a beautiful car. They were trying to mimicking the BMW 507 that came out in 1954, I believe, or 55. And I think they achieved that look, certainly.
Very, very nice.
Nice thin compressed air and a big chunk of wood that fires from the bottom, it hits the pavement, and the car is flipped.
I see. So they intentionally modified this car with compressors
Yeah.
to flip the car.
Correct.
So the action scene, Kathy, check this out. This is a storyboard here from 2006. And if you look at it here, it says angle of the same, Aston just missing her. Top shot, Aston leaving the road. And then the shape of the car wipes the frame. And then the angle, Aston Martin leaves the road and crashes into the undergrowth. And this is what the net result of it was. Looks like it worked, whatever they...
Well, it worked a little bit too well. The first attempt, it only got one flip, and then the second one, it landed on its roof, and they didn't want it to do that either. So they did it a third time, and it flipped seven different rotations, way more than they wanted to.
Oh, no.
I'm sure that the stunt driver was very shaken
Oh,
up.
I'm sure.
But
Yeah.
it has some gravel that's embedded in the bodywork here that it must have picked up on its journey.
Oh, yeah.
And if you look underneath the hood, it has all kinds of foliage and grass that's sticking on out. We have the video that shows that scene.
Oh, Casino Royale. Daniel Craig. I actually love Daniel Craig as James Bond. I think he's awesome.
Everyone seems to have their favorites.
Yeah.
I'm more of a Sean Connery person.
Yeah, that's more traditional. I don't even mind Pierce Brosnan. I think he was real good in that movie, in a bunch of different movies. But wow. And then what is this over here?
That car they filmed in Siena, Italy, and they had about 6 different cars. They all have to be damaged in exactly the same way because the continuity of shot. The cars have to, what they would refer to as accumulate damage. So it has bullet holes and windshield gets blown out, and the car takes a bit of a beating.
Oh yeah. Wow. This is a DBS. And this one over here, is this a DB10?
That's a DB10, and they only made about 10 of these. And the chase scene, it was shot in Rome at night. On screen, it's about a 3-minute chase scene, but it took them 3 weeks to film it at night in Rome. And I suspect a certain amount of money had to change
I'm
hands
sure.
to make that work.
They had to make a little bit of a contribution.
Oh, I think so, yeah.
Look at that.
Local fire department.
Oh boy, what a gorgeous car. Really, really beautiful. Well, Douglas, I want to thank you so much for taking us on this awesome tour.
You're welcome.
I'm super excited to have seen all of these cars. I want to go check out the rest of the exhibit here today upstairs with your permanent location. But
absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Really appreciate it. And
okay, Dave,
everyone, thank you again for watching another episode of Out of Spec Dave. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Even though we have a lot of combustion engine cars, I did manage to find you a Lotus Esprit Turbo Submarine powered by electric. And so I did my best. Have a good one. We'll catch you on the next one. Take care now.